Good morning, Americans. This is your favorite alien and Bubba doing a special homage to Mr. Walter Cronkite today or this week. So, with further ado, like I said, this is your favorite alien and Bubba doing a special homage to Mr. Walter Cronkite for 1969, the way he would have described 1969. So, with further ado, here it goes. Well, Americans, 1969. A year that most of you don't remember. And the news media today are putting it as, oh, the Apollo 11 landing, the glorious year of our lives. Really? I reported a lot of things in 1969, and most of that would have shook me to the ground. So let's start with 1969, okay? January. Well, there was an amazing thing happen. You had this crazy guy named Broadway Joe and his upstart American Football League players beat up on old Johnny U. Poor Johnny. He looked old, didn't he? But anyway, 16-7, the Colts lost to the New York Jets. That's the Baltimore Colts. They weren't in Indianapolis at that time, for you newbies. So that started 1969 with a bang on Super Bowl. January was an interesting month. You had all kinds of stuff. And then you had, February came along. Oh, can't miss January. January 20th, 1969. President Richard Nixon became president. He only got 43% of the vote in 68. But then again, the Democrats had been so destroyed over the Vietnam War they had just heated up the year before with the Tet Offensive that allowed Richard Nixon to sneak in with 43% of the vote. And by the way, that was Tricky Dicky, and for the next 6 years or so, he made your life hell. Anyway, 1968, you had all those assassinations, the Tet Offensive, which I reported, and President Johnson said, it cost me Vietnam and it cost me the presidency. Well, I may have been right there. U.S. won the battle, but they lost the war, didn't they? And all that stuff that you were fighting for, say, domino effect. And what happened after you left Vietnam? Domino effect. So you see, so far 69 is not turning out to be good. Then, in the summer, you had all kinds of interesting stuff there. Well, you did have interesting music on both sides, but it was all going downhill because the discourse of America had just started. It was born in 69. You could tell by the music. The Beatles were disbanding. That shook a lot of the world's music off. And you had the Fifth Dimension with their Age of Aquarius that came out. But the biggest one of all, I think, besides Woodstock, was Don Henley with his Bye Bye Miss American Pie. Took the Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. And that would come back to haunt. Because, boy, you could say anything you wanted about the levee. And if you took your Chevy to the levee, you would have been as dead as a doornail. Because remember, you talk about Katrina, but we who lived during that time can tell you, 1969 Camille was it. And the levee wasn't dry in Camille. Oh no. So you see, even the weather was bad in 69. The music was turning down doomsday all over the place. The people didn't think they would live another 5 years. And lo and behold, they thought that, the Jets have won, that's something. But in the World Series of October, you had the other team from New York, the Mets, upstart team that didn't do much since its inception in '62. And all of a sudden, it was the amazing Mets. And who did they beat? The Baltimore Orioles. So, Baltimore, I feel sorry for you because you lost the Super Bowl and the World Series in the same year. Oh, boy. Haven't recovered from that one, have you? You may have won Super Bowls and you may have won World Series, but I bet you that year hurt you most than anything if you were in Baltimore. In New York, you didn't have a better time. Between January 1969 and January 1971, your teams won the baseball World Series, the Super Bowl that had just started in the professional football, and the NBA title with the New York Knicks. Well, wasn't that something, huh? Anyway, that was it in sports then. But then you had the back end of '69 with Charles Manson and the Manson girls and those Tate LaBianca murders. Oh, that was something. It was a trial of the century later on in 1970, 71. But in '69, that was headlines in the news. And don't forget that you also had bombings going on all over the place, sit-ins going on all over the place, which culminated the next year in Kent State. Remember that? The discourse had started in America, and it's gotten worse as the years gone by. The only thing that truly was there was the launching of Apollo 11 and the landing on the moon. That gave you a bright spot. But it was already dead because Richard Nixon had killed NASA. So this is your favorite reporter, Walter Cronkite, and this is how it was in 1969. This is your favorite alien saying, thank you for letting me do this. I bet you Walter would have loved this because '69 wasn't exactly a good year. I was 10 years old in '69 and I can remember it like it was yesterday. And trust me, there was nothing good about '69 except for Apollo 11. This is your favorite alien and Bubba signing off. Good day.